何よ、アニメアディクツアノニマスのライブブロードキャストやってるって言ってるでしょ。聞きなさいよね。You are listening to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at aapodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Hello and welcome to episode 602 of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. My name is Mason. With me is Caroline, and without us is Mitsugi because he's off into the big wide world doing adventures, being a grumpy old adult. For shame. Welcome. How's it going, Caroline?
Oh, it's going pretty good. Just hanging out on this very chilly weekend and rainy. But we are very excited about our upcoming convention next weekend.
Oh my goodness, it's right around the corner. Caroline and I just spent quite a lot of time in our hobby addicts that we just recorded, waxing poetically about the rage and frustration of work and why it's all worth it by going to anime conventions and having a fun time. So Caroline is going to her very first anime convention. And yes. I hope that you guys will come out to support, if not me, because who cares about this guy, but Caroline, and join us at our panels, join us for the meetups, and it will be just an absolute blast, I think. I hope.
And we will have complimentary stickers for people. So we have a special sticker for those who participate in our panel, and we have just a general Anime Addicts Anonymous sticker to give people when they just come up to us and they, say like, hey, we like your podcast and that kind of thing. Or you could say, hey, I hate your podcast. So you'll still give you a sticker.
You'll get a sticker, but you won't know it. We'll like sneak up behind you and slap it on some of your thing and be like, no, I've been tainted. I'm ruined
Free
forever.
Advertisement.
Exactly. Support the very cause you rail against. So yeah. It'll be
just
a bunch of fun.
Us.
So I'm running the ship today. I'm trying to make motions in the Twitch chat to see how terrible the video is, because I kind of botched it a couple weeks ago. It looks kind of iffy, but you know what? We're just going to send it because actually we're here to record a podcast, and who cares about the visuals? But thank you everyone who joins us on Twitch, where we stream live every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a great way to chat with us and yell at me in the chat for messing up facts and opinions, which I do constantly. Join us on Facebook.
Nobody would
Discord.
yell at you, Nathan.
Thank you for the optimism there. But no, all these places, we love interacting with you guys. You guys are the reason why we do this and can do it. So thank you. While I'm shilling constantly, iTunes, we love 5-star reviews and we love 1-star reviews because they make me laugh. Please just give us 5 stars though. We love it. What else? I'm just rambling now.
TikTok.
TikTok.
We do have our own TikTok channel.
Shill. It's all we do
here.
This is the Shillcast.
Yes. I believe it's Anime Addicts Anonymous Pod. Just look us up on TikTok. And we have a few videos up now of varying quality, although I think, they're very good. So I hope you follow us there, or at least, like our videos. But I do kind of repost them onto our Twitter and our Facebook for the most part. So you can get a little sneak of them there. And then, join us on TikTok.
We love it. We love it all.
The more attention that, this podcast gets on TikTok, the more likely I am to continue with it. So
the more validated I feel, the better I feel. And therefore, do it, please. Thank you.
Well, if nobody's going to pay attention to them, it takes a while to put those things together.
Oh, it certainly does. I feel that pain. I get you. So you guys are.
I'll try to put together some concentric TikToks on there too this coming weekend.
Oh no, I'll be on a
big
TikTok.
Weekend.
I will be on a TikTok.
Yes, you will.
Oh, my nightmare is coming to fruition. Anyway,
Sorry.
Speaking of nightmares coming to fruition, what are we doing today? Well, normally I know exactly what we're doing, but with Mitz, off in Summerland enjoying warmth and happiness. I'm here in the cold. I have all my screens going with all these various programs that I normally am not running during the podcast. So I am just getting blasted with way more data information for my little peon brain to handle, and I have no idea what's going on. But this
And
document
I'm supervising.
this document in front of me tells me that we are doing a topic called Best and Worst of a Genre, which Caroline and I did not consult each other for how we interpreted this cryptic message that Mitz left for us. So we will see what we think that means, as well as a review of Kageki Shoujo, a show from summer 2021. Because guess what? Impressions are over, people. You can go vote right now on the link that people hopefully post in the Twitch chat, because I'm too lazy to find it myself, to determine what shows review. But anyway, impressions are done. You can make the listener choice poll, or not poll, selections, and we will get those next week. So last call for those. But yeah, review season, we're back into it, and I think it'll be an interesting discussion. I think we'll have some differing opinions on it. But big news of the week, are we ready to get into it?
I suppose we are.
Everybody, clench your buttholes and air holes in case this is obscenely loud, because this is always what happens when Mitz plays it. But here we go.
大ニュースです。It's time for big news of the week.
And Caroline is safe from the savagery because, as always, she cannot hear any of the music I am playing because I am a terrible host. But that means
come on.
you get to lead the way. So, Caroline, what big news did you find from this week?
Not much. Not much that I was interested in anyway. But here's something interesting. A woman was charged for selling 6.5 million yen in unauthorized Demon Slayer cakes. Now let me tell you what that means. So the Mukaishima Metropolitan Police Department charged a woman on Tuesday for breaking copyright law by selling unauthorized Demon Slayer themed cakes. And she has sold cakes for 13,000 to 15,000 yen each, which is about $115 USD. And so she's been doing this on Instagram. And she has made 6.5 million yen since July 2019. 56 or almost $57,000 USD. That's just crazy. Crazy cakes. So she even admitted to the charge. I mean, it wasn't exactly very secretive. Anyway, it was all on Instagram. She believed that the cakes would sell well because obviously Demon Slayer is very popular. And she knew it was a crime, so she's not entirely surprised by this. A production company noticed her cakes on Instagram in February and told the police about it, so they're snitches. But I suppose, copyright law is a thing for a reason, but they're just Demon Slayer cakes.
I tried foolishly to put together the image onto the chat. You can see it now of what the cakes look like. And you know what? While I'm just off here, let me see if I can find the listener choice poll. Let me see if it's still open. Doot, because chat is asking about it, and I am just I can't not give it to them.
People can find the poll on our Discord as well as on our social media. If you just scroll down on Twitter or Facebook, you could probably find it there.
Let's see. Thank you, folks, coming in clutch, because I guess it was removed off the website. But yeah, Bisman Cygnus. Sorry. Thank you, everybody. Let me close this. Let me delete this. I have no idea what's going on. Erase, delete, cancel. Boom. We're back at it, folks. What's next? Oh, my big news of the week. Yeah, that's what's going on. Sorry, a little hectic today, folks.
Any comments on the cake?
I would love to eat a cake. I would prefer a pie, as we've discussed before, but I mean, they're good looking cakes. Like, they're not. I'm picturing, when you have like some lady who like tries to paint over a famous painting, and you like look at it and it's like a really botched job. Like, these are pretty like legit looking cakes. So, I mean, this whole copyright thing is tough. Like, we're gonna go to a convention in a couple days, And there is going to be loads of fan art and, things for sale of these licensed anime characters that have not been like authorized to be made into, artist alleys and stuff like that. But it's a very like loose gray area of copyright. And, if someone makes a cool picture of Tanjiro and sells it to me for $20 at a convention, is that any worse than these cakes? I'd say not, because at least these cakes are like one of a kind. These are like the NFTs of the world because non-fungible cakes. I don't know. It's tough.
I kind of feel with when there is no legal equivalent, there's nobody from the Demon Slayer franchise is selling Demon Slayer cakes.
I mean,
are they really taking away any
Demon
cash
Slayer
from that?
food merchandise? I don't know if
But there's no like, I don't know if it's like that quality though. Like they might have, Demon Slayer is on a package of candy or whatever, but it's not a full cake. I mean,
maybe.
I really don't.
Someone should make a company called Shonen Slice where you get cakes decorated in your favorite things. But like, if this was in the U.S., this would slide no problem. Like, I'm sure you're getting like Pikachu cakes as a kid that weren't ever like, they were designed by like Walgreens or something. Like they don't even do cakes, but even they pumped out Pikachu stuff. Like, I think Japan is just very stringent with these laws. So,
follow-up question. Would you actually spend up to 130 USD on a cake in general?
I mean, if it was for my kid and it tasted good, yeah, why not?
For your kid? $130 cake for a kid?
I mean, how much do you think cakes normally are?
Probably like $30.
What kind of
like it depends on how big your birthday party is.
Eating?
Oh, they'll eat anything.
Oh, sure, but like, I don't know. I think I like my children enough to feed them quality Demon Slayer produce.
Okay. Flash forward like 10, 15 years, Mason. You have kids.
Yikes.
And we'll return to this conversation. I will remind you that you are
closing in.
You are required to put down at least $100 on your kid's cake every single birthday.
I mean, if it looked this cool, yeah. Okay. And you're invited.
Okay, I'm holding
You'd be
that.
invited. You'd be invited to these parties.
Yay!
You can enjoy this amazing, succulent, quadruple ice cream layered tear brownie infused cake, and it will be great.
Okay, so we'll make sure to return to this conversation in 10 to 15 years. All right, Mason, what do you got?
Nothing as good as that, let's be honest. A lot of live action stuff has been coming out, particularly from the Netflix camp. Two stories kind of caught my eye. Obviously, the big one being the live action One Piece series that is coming out, with the cast members being revealed. Fittingly, an announcement, because today, right now, as we are airing this, is the 1000th episode of One Piece. So, congrats. Hopefully these people aren't contracted for 27 years of their life and future acting stuff, but there is an upcoming, obviously, live action series. It will be 10 episodes, which is, as if you know anything about math, significantly less than 1,000. It will be following, the very beginning, and we'll have Ichiro Oda, the creator of One Piece, as the executive producer. And it seems like he's a little bit more involved than a lot of other live action based things, so that's a promising sign. I can't say I'm all too thrilled with it, but kind of going along with the, Cowboy Bebop live action and this next story, a Gundam film live action also coming to Netflix. It seems like they're really kind of pushing this angle. Do you have any strong opinions or thoughts on the live action, landscape?
Well, in terms of One Piece in particular, I have never watched One Piece. I mean, it seems that a lot of people are, kind of mixed on the casting choices, although I do see a little bit more positivity towards it. Maybe the only negativity I see is the fact that there is a live action coming anyway. I haven't heard much about the Gundam news, but yeah, I mean, I find live action to be just interesting in that, like, okay, let's see what they do with this. But they disappoint me every time.
Okay, well, we'll see. I think my trust in the One Piece one, even though obviously a completely different cast of obviously actors, but also people working on it, writers, directors, producers, etc., etc. I think my like hype for the One Piece one will be based around how the Cowboy Bebop one does. Because the Bebop
Yeah,
one seems to
maybe.
be, kind of the trendsetter. Not that there hasn't been live actions before, but like live action series of this release on Netflix will kind of pave the way on, is this a good or bad idea? But as I mentioned, there's also the live action Gundam film, which is being directed by Jordan Vogt Roberts, who did Kings of Summer and Kong Skull Island. And he, from the interviews I've seen, seems to be very into Gundam and excited for it, which is a good sign that it's not some massive director who has never heard of Gundam before today. So that's a good sign. And we've known about this film for a few months, but with concept art starting to come out, it seems to be, I don't know, it's too soon to tell, I think, but you can find pictures of the part of the Gundam with like fire all around them, and it doesn't look quite what I was expecting, because they might have made it more realistic, which I'm fine with, but I am curious to see how that looks, because we can imagine what pirates look like. We've seen pirates, but a big live action Gundam, unless you've been to Odaiba Island, and unless you've been to the future, you have no idea how this is going to look actually moving around. So I am probably more interested in that, honestly, the film, but I don't know. I'm just curious to get your thoughts and people's in the comments.
I feel like live action really kind of dig their own grave, because they keep on choosing shows or movies to make into live action that don't lend itself to live action. I know you said like, oh, pirates, that'll be easy in other terms, but by the same, like, just looking at One Piece, the style of One Piece is very cartoony. And
Yes.
I don't really know much about One Piece, but I do know the main power of Luffy is the fact that he can stretch his body like rubber. That also does not lend itself to live action. So it's just, they need to start choosing shows that are not, made for animation. Like,
I
one
get
of the
what you're
best.
saying.
I've
I get
not
what you're
seen
saying.
many. I've not seen a lot of live action,
You've seen
but
Avatar:
I do
The Last
think
Airbender, right? That's all you need to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Say no more, fam.
I would say the best representation of a live action based on an anime that I have seen is probably the Erased live action on Netflix.
Okay.
Again, I've not seen many, but that one is decent. It looks decent. It's well acted. It is more accurate to the manga than the anime is itself, which gives it something that people should watch for. So yeah, I mean, it can be done, but they need to choose the right, the right shows to do it for.
Yeah, I heard good things about the Rurouni Kenshin one, as Slim Chance in the chat says. I didn't watch it, but it seemed to be like you were saying, something that could lend well to the live action. Yeah, he also asked about like, is the Gundam one going to be an original story or following one of the established series? I think it's going to be like an amalgamation of a couple different series, but I'm not too sure. But yeah, I'm a little skeptical about the One Piece one, but hey, come in with low expectations and hopefully I will get pleasantly surprised. So the only
Worst comes to worst, we just block it out of our memory.
Exactly. Worst things, it just is a great fun laugh together and we pretend it never happened. And it doesn't hurt anybody. It's good.
Worst comes to worst, it makes the anime look so much better.
Exactly. But if they don't do the opening rap from the 4Kids dub, I will be a little sad. I know I'm a purist. I know I'm like, oh, the original's always better. Blah, 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 blah. No, the One Piece rap slaps. I love it. I endure it. Hopefully they mix it in where maybe it's not the opening, but someone's like playing it like on a boombox as they walk by, and they're like, "What the is that? Like, what?" they need to reference it. Please make it happen. And with that, I realized I did not update the overlay. So boom, we did big news, and boom, let's get into our main topic. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
So, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Mitsugi just said, oh, the topic will be best and worst of a genre. And Caroline and I ended up making lists of our favorite and least favorite show, or shows in someone's case, of each genre that I found from AniList. So, let's see, how long are we into this episode? Oh, we are cooking. And by cooking, I mean going extremely slow, which is perfect. We're stalling for time. I think we're just going to run through. We'll go genre by genre and give an example of a show, at least what I approached it as a show that does that genre and every element of it extremely well, or for the worst, extremely poorly. Now, this is not the best blank blank show of blank blank genre, no matter what. Like, it's the show that epitomizes what that genre has to offer for me more than like any other that I could think of in the small amount of time I spent preparing this. How about you, Caroline? How did you approach this?
I tried to approach it the same kind of way, but I have to tell you, it was so difficult. It took me very long to make this list. I mean, for one thing, we have so many different genres on this list. And another thing is that you can take an interpretation of a genre and twist it in many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then also is the fact that when I watch something that is not very good, I don't tend to remember it very well. So me just trying to search through my anime list and different ranking websites and all that was my crutch. I was just trying to figure out what I can supply for this list. So I might not even agree with myself a few days from now looking back at this list.
Oh,
so if
fine.
somebody does not agree with me, I know. I just tried my best.
Hold your complaints at the door. Also, I'll have you know, insider knowledge, if you're on Twitch right now, you might be able to see, but your comments are getting fed into a little box that show up on screen. And I might need to change the size and setting, but that will show up on the YouTube. So you're going to be famous if you comment on Twitch. So that's why it's a good
at the moment we are frozen, so
we're frozen?
Not now.
Oh no,
yeah,
right
like
as
it.
I said that.
Oh wait, no we're not. We're good, but the box has disappeared.
Oh no, we're right as I try to get fancy. I think it's
You're
probably,
a liar, Mason.
It's no one knows. It's probably just my internet being absolutely brutal. Yeah, it's definitely my internet. Sorry. Anyway, we will.
I wish Mitsugi was here.
I do too. Boy, do I. Do we want to start off listing our favorite and least favorite genre just for reference?
Okay. I mean, I don't really. I know it sounds cliche, but I really don't have a favorite genre because I can think of so many of my favorite animes, and they really do run the gamut, with the exception of a few certain types of genres.
Let me ask you this way:
I do.
If you go to your anime list, whether it be My Anime List or any other website, it'll tell you what your favorite is objectively.
Does it? I mean, I
Yeah.
only have My Anime List. I don't have any list.
Okay, well then I'll send you a link, and you can figure it out objectively what your favorite is.
Okay. While you do that, I would say generally I will love both, dramedies, dramas and comedies together in one show, and supernatural action. I feel like those two things are very different from each other, but from the top 10 of my anime list, they do fall into those two categories pretty often.
Okay. Yeah, just go to anime.plus. Just go to that website.
Anime.plus.
And you put your My Anime List username on that little search bar at the bottom. And you probably have to wait like a little while to for it to like register and put in there. But once you get that, it'll tell you all the stats you need to know in your favorite studio and all sorts of good stuff. But anyway,
I'm in queue.
You're in the queue. Perfect.
So,
we'll get to it when it pops up. So my least favorite genre is definitely the ecchi/hentai show. Just not my preferred thing. But as far as like an actual genre in a sense, I think horror shows tend to be one of the weakest within the realm of anime, as well as the fact that I just tend not to prefer those outside of anime. So usually not much love lost there. And my favorite genre is psychological shows. So definitely, if you look at my
Yeah.
favorites, a lot of good stuff to be found there.
I mean, I think I would have put in psychological too, but I feel like I was definitely stepping on your toes when I was making this list, so I just
Oh,
omitted that.
no, that's fine.
Um,
That's fine. We can both have
But
good
in terms of
taste.
my least favorite genre, I did have to step on your toes because I freaking hate ecchi and hentai. Everybody knows this, so same there. One thing that I think is kind of blasphemous a little bit because a lot of people love it. I don't like mecha. I try to like mecha. I'm not saying it's bad. I just don't find it very interesting for the most part anyway. So, yeah, that's on my least favorite genre list.
My internet is bad, everybody. I'm sorry. But anyway, let's ready to start grinding through these genres. I figure
Let's start.
put some sort of minutes on the clock and just do a quick, give us a 2-second primer on why you think the show you picked is a best representation of the genre. So going in alphabetical order, action.
Oh, action. Yes, action. My opinion, best of the genre would be One Punch Man or Mob Psycho 100. It does feel like a little bit of a cop out, but when you watch either shows, the action quality, how it looks, how the fight scenes progress, it's just top tier for me. I love it.
Interesting. And I thought about One Punch Man or Mob Psycho. Both have amazing action scenes, plenty of Sakuga, but I don't really watch them for the action scenes, I'm watching One Punch Man for the deconstruction of the trope and the comedy. I'm watching Mob Psycho for the character growth and drama. They do the action so well, but even without them, they don't rely on them. So my best was Attack on Titan, which you could argue also has a great mystery element and some great twists and plots. But honestly, the 3D maneuver gear looks so phenomenal and so fantastic that no other show has made me feel movement in the same way, especially season 3 part 2, which has some of the finest animation cuts of action scenes in recent memory. Obviously you could go to a Bone series, but Attack on Titan just hits, and that's why it's so beloved in the community. So I'm going with the basic answer, and Attack on Titan for me. But we I think we agreed on the worst. What do we pick?
Yashahime. I mean, again, it's hard to pick for me, but I really did not enjoy that show. And if it is an action show, I don't really remember anything remarkable from that. And that is not good for an action. I mean, I feel like I feel like I looked at these shows in a more general way. You really thought about what they represented from a genre, and nothing else other than that.
Mm-hmm.
So not to say that you did it wrong or anything like that. There's no
we
wrong
just
way
did
to
it
do this,
differently,
but
yeah.
I'm just saying that this is how I've thought about my shows. It's a little bit differently, but definitely. I can't say that it is the worst amongst all, but it's one of the first things I thought about.
Yeah, the action of the show, irregardless of the plot and contrivances and just cash grab that it was, the action element was kind of atrocious. It wasn't well animated. It wasn't stylistically done. The fights kind of ended and started in such just bland ways that from an action sequence, it was a pale imitation of everything that the genre, embodies. So yeah, Yashahime was not a great show, and especially not a good action show. Jerry Ryoko says Jibiate in the chat. Jibi8, and Jibi8 could be on every single worst list here. So
does it really embody the worst of every genre?
It really does. It
is the worst romance. It is the worst adventure. It is
Exactly.
the worst comedy.
I mean,
the worst magical girl. We have a magical girl section here too. So is it the worst magical girl?
It might as well be. It might as well be. I only picked shows that were in the genre that they were listed as. I wasn't being like, oh, Attack on Titan, terrible magical girl show, even though it kind of is
Yeah.
if you want to think about it like that. Terrible mech show if you want to think about it like that, which it kind of is. But anyway, adventure. What do we got?
Okay, so for the best, I put To Your Eternity because there was just a lot of fascinating parts of that world that they went through in a very interesting way, and especially over time as well. So that there's another element to that,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that was really well done. And also Mushishi because I mean it's a new place every time, and while the places don't really change, maybe I wasn't entirely sure about this one, but I did throw it in there. You know, it is constantly moving to a different place. The features of that place may not change, but the people do, and their situations do. And yeah, I do think it embodies good things about the adventure genre.
Sorry, I'm trying to
What's
figure
yours?
out how to make my computer not like explode on me right now. It is like
Oh
heating
yeah.
up beyond belief. So if we just kick the bucket, uh, that's what'll happen. That's why everything is lagging super hard. Adventure shows. So I tried very hard to only pick one show for each category. This one, I just couldn't narrow it down. I was torn between A Place Further Than the Universe, the Antarctica show, and Made in Abyss. Two fantastic adventure shows. One about, going out in the world to learn more about yourself. One about going deep into the world to learn about the world itself. So, two different types of adventures with two different purposes, both of which are just an absolute journey to go on from the world of actual physical travel to the emotional growth of the character. So both of them are fantastic, very different aesthetics, very different things to say about what it means to adventure, but nonetheless inspiring in a kind of way. So yeah, both of those are fantastic shows.
And for the worst, I put down Sword Art Online.
Interesting
I
pick.
also had a hard time with this one. But the mere fact that there's 100 levels to this game, and they really only explore a very, very, very small percentage of them, and then they skip 50 floors at some point, and it's just you can't skip that much. It's 100 floors. There's
you're,
so
you're
much
saying the only problem with Sword Art Online is that you wanted more Sword Art Online.
The thing is that when they say there's 100 floors and then they show you a couple of those floors and you're like, okay, so are we going floor by floor here? No, they're going to skip by the dozens every single episode, and then they'll just jump right in as if you were not given a not like a cultural whiplash or anything like that, but you are whiplashed by the fact that they are in a totally different place with different features to this floor, and they could have done it better. I mean, I realize I'm not saying that they should definitely do 100 floors because that's a lot to go through in a whole show. But maybe they should have just brought it down a little bit, maybe 10 floors,
I mean, they
and
must have done at
really
least that
explored
many.
it. Yes, but I'm saying that I know I'm talking about something that is impossible considering they are basing it off a light novel that has 100 floors written in there. But I feel like with this, if they're not going to explore those 100 floors and they, make it sound interesting, it should be just a more reachable number, like 10. I don't know. Maybe I'm asking
Fair enough.
really
You were
dumb
let
things,
down by
but
the adventure aspect of Sword Art Online, and you determine it to be the worst adventure show. That's good. That is valid. I can't debate that. I wish there was more of the good part of that show too. So,
Mhm.
it's funny that your worst adventure show was an isekai, because my worst adventure show was also an isekai. It was Bofuri, the cute little show where Maple goes around with her big old syrup turtle boy, and they have a bunch of fun. I wasn't a big fan of the show. Obviously, I did not score it very highly, but as an adventure show, it just gave me nothing. You learned nothing about the world. You learned nothing about the character. It was just stagnant. There was no growth at all. I couldn't stand it. So as an adventure show, it
I
like
loved Bo Furry.
yeah, and you can like I see why people enjoyed it, but like did it offer anything as an adventure? No, it was just a slice of life show, and you could argue, oh well, it shouldn't be categorized as an adventure show, but it is, and therefore it's bad. So I'm not saying the shows are bad. I'm not saying the shows are good. I'm saying as an adventure, it dropped the ball. So
Yeah, I mean, I do
yeah.
feel like it was required of them to say it was an adventure because it is an adventure game they are playing. So yeah,
So yeah, I
I
could
guess
see
it
it
makes
either
some
way.
sense.
But yeah, there's no right answer. Tell me what your worst or favorite is in the chat, and I will be like, yep, that's probably better than what I came up with. So anyway, comedy. I was going to
Okay.
list one of your shows, but I knew with like 1000% certainty, yak pasento, as Dr. Stone might say it, that you were gonna put it, so I didn't even bother. So take it away.
Okay, for the comedy category, I put down Hinamatsuri because it's one of my favorite shows overall, and it is freaking hilarious. Um, so definitely best of comedy for me, as well as Mob Psycho 100, because how can't I? When you have stuff like Mob loves milk, and his sweet little face goes like, "Oh, I love milk," and you got other stuff in there that are hilarious too. So, and the Body Improvement Club by itself is a massive laugh. I love them. So, yeah, that's good for comedy for me.
Yeah, Hinamatsuri is amazing. Highly recommend that show. It's very good. My favorite comedy is probably Joshiraku. It is extremely dense with Japanese references and culture and like just like geographical features as like its point of reference. So it's not like the most inviting for new watchers, but I found it to be extremely witty and clever, and I was like, I'm witty and clever, or at least I try to be, and this show scratched that itch. Asobi Asobase is also a little bit more of like crude and goofy for people who don't want to use 100% of their brain. So that would be two recommendations that I would give. As far as worst, we also did not pick the same show, but had a very similar element in both of them. So what did you go with?
Okay. So this show I only watched one episode of, which I realize is not very fair, but it was fresh in my mind as a show that is a comedy and nothing else, and did not laugh a single time, and that would be The Vampire Dies in No Time. This was one of my impressions. I think I did this in the first impression episode because I knew automatically that it was not going to be passed at all. And it just boils down to the fact that it is a comedy, nothing else, and the fact that I did not laugh at all. And like the single best part of the show was John the Armadillo. This is the worst comedy I've ever seen.
But it has John. Like it's got at least something.
It does
going
have
for
John.
It.
It has only John.
Really quick to get to some like listener comments. Zero Ryokyo said Decadence was disappointing from an adventure standpoint, and I could absolutely get that based on like where the beginning of that show was going. You're like, oh, I'm getting into a high flying, high octane, crazy monster battle thing, and it definitely takes a hard left turn. So I could see where that like, it had potential and dropped it, which is worse than the show that never had it to begin with. As far as comedies, a lot of love for Gintama, which is amazing. But to me, Gintama it also has so much more going for it. Like you could also watch it for the massive cast, the crazy characters. Like it's such I guess that's one and the same. So forgive me. Gintama is great. Gintama has made me laugh out loud physically by myself in a room, like a sad anime watcher more than any other show. So there certainly has my vouching as well. And Azumanga Daioh, two great shows. My least favorite comedy is Vlad Love, the Mamoru Oshii vampire show that came out not too long ago. And that was very much similar to what I was just saying about Decadence, wasted potential. Like a phenomenal director, great looking visuals, like it had a lot going for it, and I was so excited to see where it went. And just all the comedy was so not up my alley, I'll say, that it made it a very difficult watch, especially knowing that so many talented people were involved in making something that did not click with me at any level. So is it the least funny show of all time? No, but it was probably one of my most disappointing comedies. So that's Vlad Love for you. So
Another thing that just popped into my head, I was not a huge fan of the comedy of Excel Saga because it was
yes.
just way too wacky and crazy and it just did not hit, you know? Sometimes
Yes.
it did, but other times it's more like, why am I watching this again? But yeah, I suppose that's it for the comedy category.
Yeah, we are. We should probably kick this baby into high gear. Drama. What do we got?
Sangatsu no Lion, all the way.
Good.
It's one of my favorite shows of all time. So of course it tops the drama category for me. Just a lot of issues regarding these characters that are very relatable and shown in a very uh what's the word? Metaphorical way. Like they have a very metaphorical way of showing issues with these characters in terms of their animation and everything. So yeah, and you really do feel for all these characters. So tops the drama category for me.
Yeah, it's unreal. It's one of my few 10 out of 10s. Sangatsu is amazing. Watch it. Obviously, another show, no explanation needed. Rakugo Shinju, both seasons are splendiferous. They're so good. Must watches. Way more, I don't want to call it mature than than Sangatsu, but it just is more adult because it's a mostly adult cast. It's good. It's really good. Watch it. Least favorite.
Natsuyuki Rendezvous.
Thank you, Anime Club.
Yes, a lot of these shows I watched because of Anime Club. I would never have watched it without Anime Club. Had a very interesting premise to me, but then I realized that I despised most, if not all, of the characters. And I did not care about their situations, and the way that they resolved their situations were pretty problematic. So yeah, worst drama for me.
Ooh, you're getting some dislikes in the comments.
I know,
for the Excel
but
Saga.
I'm
But
sorry.
hey, gotta stick to your guns.
Oh, Excel Saga. Well, I can definitely see why people like Excel Saga, but the wackiness of the comedy just wasn't really for me.
Fair enough.
That is to say that there will be a lot of things on the worst list. That does not mean to say they are absolutely bad anime. They're just really bad in that category.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I don't know if I can always
opinion.
say that. Most of my shows I gave at most a 2 out of 5 too. These are all shows that I also think are bad, but particularly bad at this. Least favorite drama, just because it was fresh in my mind, Tokyo Revengers. Just everything just was bad. Just watch the review. I just didn't like how things were. Like, I get why people are like, oh, it's a gang, it's a big male team bonding thing. Like, I guess I can get the appeal for it, but just as a drama, everything was so artificial and awful with how things were resolved. It was just so groan worthy. So watch that review. I'm not going to make a fool of myself again by making up why I didn't like it. Ecchi.
I mean, yeah, we did talk for 40 minutes about it all by itself.
Exactly. But this will be interesting because this is both one of our least favorite genres. So what rises to the top of your souffle of awfulness?
To the top, it's Shokugeki no Soma.
Hey.
I read the manga of Shokugeki. I watched the anime up to a certain point.
I was going to ask about
There is
that.
a certain point in the manga where it just falls apart. Did not continue reading to the end. I did not continue watching until the end. But the first couple seasons of Shokugeki no Soma, I really enjoyed. I think it's fun. Even with the ecchi, it is across the board, all genders, and it isn't like there are other things other than ecchi to enjoy in the show. That is the main thing too. And in the ecchi category, it's not too bad. It's bad, but it doesn't hit me in the awkward way that a lot of ecchi does. So yeah, by a very small margin, that has risen to the top since I don't really watch a lot of ecchi.
Okay. My favorite obviously has to be Kill la Kill, the seminal Trigger studio work. Very much its etchiness is based into the plot and the writing and themes and metaphors and everything about the show, which made me say, oh, I get why they're doing it. Do I agree with it? Maybe not, but it's a ton of fun. It's the show that brought me back to anime. So you could say that ecchi is why I'm here today.
That's what it is! Kill la Kill!
Kill la Kill is so
brought
good.
You back to anime.
It's so good. It's such a blast. It's so doofy.
I've never
goofy.
seen it.
It's a absolute just pure energy capsule shoved in a suppository shoved down your throat because you're too scared to put it in the right way. It's a bunch of fun, and it makes fun of so much. And watch it. It's not for everybody. Least favorite ecchi.
Okay. Since again, anything that I really hate, I kind of just stopped watching. There wasn't many to choose from. But I did watch 2 episodes of Do You Love Your Mom and Her 2-Hit Multi-Target Attacks? And that was disgusting. I had to, yeah, it was not good. And I kind of put a question mark on this one because it was another anime club show, and I'm not even sure. It was a weird one for this category. Yozakura Quartet. There are just a ton of panty shots and nothing else. And in that way, I was kind of like thinking to myself, is it an ecchi? Because there isn't a lot of boob stuff and like, just in your face ecchi like these other shows do. But it was just lazy. It was lazy with its ecchi. Just like every other scene, a panty shot. And it doesn't even add anything. It doesn't even add any sexual appeal. I don't get it. So that was the worst in ecchi. For a different reason.
A lot of love for Keijo in the ecchi category. Honestly, Keijo, not a bad pick. Not a bad pick for the ecchi quality, where it uses a terrible premise to justify the ecchi, and it sports, as you guys say. So, yeah, that's a good pick. I'm getting disliked from Captain Avatar for the Kill la Kill love. Okay, my dude, it's okay. I expect most people to dislike it over like it, but oh my goodness, it has the Sawano soundtrack that just absolutely bops. So, gotta give it love for that. My least favorite ecchi has to be Bakuan. It's the motorcycle show, which, Kill la Kill is a story that needs ecchi in it to tell its story. Bakuan is a just great club show where they ride a motorcycle up to like Hokkaido. It's literally just laid back camp, and someone's like, what if there were just boobs everywhere? It's not the worst show ever, but just the ecchi component is so out of place. It really just is a great staple on how ecchi can ruin an otherwise enjoyable show for me personally. Some people are probably like, oh, I don't care about the bikes, I'm here for the other elements, and good for them. I guess they were just trying to Venn diagram their way to me slapping the crap out of my microphone. But yeah, Bakuan, kind of rough. Fantasy.
I actually never heard about that show.
Yeah, it's
Best in Fantasy. There are so many fantasy shows out there, but here's where I'll put Made in Abyss, because it has a lot of very interesting elements to it in its fantasy. The monsters and the worlds within this one abyss is just very fascinating. There are so many other fantasies I could pull from, especially from Ghibli, which I believe you did, but and there's just so much out there. It's really hard to choose one.
I tried very hard to not pick any movies for this list. Otherwise, I would have picked like Redline for action, yada, yada, yada. Like, movies can, by nature of their shorter runtime, be more of a exemplar of a genre. But damn, Spirited Away is just the best fantasy thing in anime. Like, it is the definition of whatever in your head you think of the definition of fantasy to be. Spirited Away does it better than anything else. It is the staple. There's a reason why it's so beloved, and it just takes you as a viewer out of your headspace and into this world of magical realism and just craziness that I think fantasy at its core is what always it tries to be. So Spirited Away is just so good at it, but you guys already knew that. What they don't know is what is the worst fantasy show.
I had to dig deep for this one. Again, it was very hard to choose. But here's where I'll put Romeo x Juliet. It was just dumb. It was dumb because they put a fantasy element in what was originally a very down-to-earth play. It was, nothing fantastical. It's fantastical about Romeo and Juliet. But here they go putting like magical trees underground and hypnotizing girls of this one family to sacrifice themselves to this tree, and then I don't even know what happened at the end. It was just so weird. Ugh, God, it was weird.
Yeah, that was a rough show. Once again, thank you, Anime Club. join our Discord where you can watch questionably quality shows with us every other week in our anime club.
It
So
expands your anime knowledge at the very least.
exactly. I think we're watching Boogie Bop Phantom and talking about it in a couple days. That'll be a fun ride. That'll be very interesting. So stay tuned for that. Worst fantasy show. I needed to put The Price of Smiles somewhere on this list, and I put it here. I'm not going to say any more. Just, yeah, don't watch that show. Horror, a series that I also, once again, was not the biggest fan of. What was your favorite?
I've not seen a lot of horror. So it was really hard to choose what would be a good representative of it for the good and the bad. I could think of something for good, could not really think of anything for specifically bad. I put down Devilman Crybaby. It was not my favorite show because it made me very uncomfortable, but it was scary how uncomfortable it made me feel in that way. There were a lot of horrific elements to this show, especially the way it develops. So if you really want to be deep into depression and be scared of how horrible this world of the show is, then yeah, it's a great horror.
Nice. I like Devilman Crybaby. It's fun.
It was a well-produced show. And I did binge all of it, just so you know. But yeah, I was a little bit horrified by it.
Well, perfect. That's literally what it was going for. So
Horrified and not like, oh, I love watching horror movies kind of thing. Nobody loves watching this. Nobody's putting it on and expecting to have a good time with it.
So you're getting love for Shiki as well?
Shiki's okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's the horror thing. It's like nothing is spectacular about the horror drama in that way, you know?
Yeah. Shiki's fun. Yeah, Devilman's really good. Obviously, best horror, I have to give it to Mononoke. Very dense and obtuse, folklore-esque horror show. Very episodic that, you know, it's a difficult watch. It's a confusing watch, but overall, when you read up on the, you know, influences and kind of what led to these stories being crafted and the history behind them, they are kind of bone-chilling in a way. So I gotta give it to Mononoke. Not Princess Mononoke, mind you. This is the series Mononoke. It's a trip, and I like it. And it looks very funny, and I like it because it's good, and therefore I like it. Worst horror? Did you not have anything?
Yeah, I couldn't really think of anything in particular.
I gotta give it to the Junji Ito collection. Man, was that a disappointment, especially given how in high esteem I hold Junji Ito's stuff, the mangaka. The adaptation of a lot of his works in this compilation was like comical to the point of it was like laughably bad. Don't watch the Junji Ito collection. We will get our verdict on if the new OVA on Adult Swim of Tomie is any good. But for now,
I do, or is it Uzumaki,
oh no,
right?
Uzumaki,
Yeah,
not Tomie. Yeah,
I have
I
high
can't
hopes
think.
for it. The teaser is particularly very good, so I recommend people take a look at it.
All right, let's keep on blasting through these.
Magical Girl. I could not really think of anything. The best, I barely watch any Magical Girl stuff. The most I could say is, I don't know, Madoka Magica
Yeah,
or
that's
Sailor
Magical
Moon.
Girl.
But
Madoka's magical.
yeah. Yeah, it is a Magical Girl anime, but when I don't really have much to compare it to, I can't really say for a fact that it is the best, you know?
Fair enough. Obviously, best magical girl, as the chat reminds me, is GB8. There's no doubt about it. No. Best magical girl show. I wanted to put Madoka, but I don't watch Madoka for the magical girl. It's a deconstruction of it. That's the meme. We get it. But there's a lot more to it that I love about the show. Princess Tutu is a fantastic magical girl show, particularly the first 13 episodes of the first core of it. Excellent. Very good. Watch that show. Worst is Urahara, because no one's ever watched this show and no one should. And it had potential with like a stylish, weird, like, I don't know, Harajuku styling to it, but it was kind of not great. Don't watch it. Watch Princess Tutu, everybody. Yeah, or obviously Madoka. Best mecha, lay it on us, Caroline. Keep it going.
Gurren Lagann, again, did not really have much to compare to since I don't really watch a lot of mecha, but Gurren Lagann was at least good. I enjoyed it for the most part. Yeah, I mean, I can certainly think of like some mecha I just found boring, but there really wasn't anything that really, topped the list for me.
Yeah, here's where I show my true colors of not really knowing something about anime. I love Gurren Lagann. It's really cool. I don't watch it for the mecha. I watch it for the characters, and everyone's like, "Oh, mecha's not about the robots. It's for the characters." Yeah, I get that, but it's also for the robots, and I like robots. I gotta give it to Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt. For some reason, that specific entry into the MSG franchise really drew me in. It's short, it looks great, it's got an awesome musical component, and it just stuck with me. And I know Gundam is a worldwide sensation. But I don't know, Thunderbolt, I know it doesn't get the love that the others do, but it just stuck with me. So I'm going to say that. It's very short. You can watch it with no prior knowledge, and it's a fun time. Worst mecha has to be the Big O. I think we did a review on it. I didn't watch it as a kid, so I didn't have like nostalgia for it, but the mecha didn't really fit well, and the show was kind of not good. I like some elements of it, but you can listen to the review and understand why I have bad taste there. Music.
Okay, best for me was Zombieland Saga for obvious reasons. Great music in that show, for the most part, and great characters too. I know Yusuke was saying like, oh, but if it's for something else, I'm not really put it in that category. I know, but it's just
You
overall, it's a pretty good music show. I know, yeah, I'll just do me. Worst in genre for me, White Album 2. Thank you, Anime Club.
Anime Club comes through again. I saw this on the list, like on my list, and I was like, should I put it in worst? But I mean, I don't remember a lot of music being played there because they kind of just did that one song over and over. But yeah, it was not a good show. It was not a good show.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah, Zombieland Saga is fun. Though I do laugh that I remember in a review you were saying only one of them was a good singer.
Yeah, one of them is a good singer. Yeah, I do remember that.
No,
but they had a couple good songs.
Yeah,
yeah. As a whole, they can be good. When they focus on individual singing, it's not great.
Gotcha. Best music for me, I have to give it to Kids on the Slope, not only for the music that they play in the show, but for the role that music has in the development and friendship and story of the show. It very much is fully encompassed by music. Like, I love K-On! I love it to death. It's such a good show. But that show could have memed completely and gone without any music, and it would still be good. Like, you take the music out of Sakamichi no Apollon, and it is a completely different animal. So, Kids on the Slope is fantastic for music. For worst music, we have to give it... I've seen it pop up in the comments a couple times, but Listeners is just not good. They tried to incorporate music and mecha and terrible writing, and they turned out a show that was terribly written and had no redeeming qualities. So, yeah, Listeners, bad. Sorry, people who like Listeners, which is nobody. So,
the OP is a bop, though.
Yeah, I guess.
At least they have that. Mystery. I put down Odd Taxi because I had to put it somewhere, and it does have a lot of interesting mystery elements to it. So I put that as my best. As my worst, I put down Babylon because it's really bad at multiple things, but it's certainly not great in the mystery department because they never exactly go back to the mystery. They never solve the mystery of the main antagonist, so it just fails in that aspect. Among others.
Amongst others, yes.
Yeah.
Wait, did I? Interesting. I tried not to repeat shows, but I just noticed something. Anyway, best mystery has to be Kubikuri Cycle for me. It's a, like, ONA. They're longer episodes, but it's so satisfying. It's done by the same people. I should say the same source material of Nisio Isin, who does all the Monogatari stuff and Katanagatari. It's one of his earlier works, and it is such a great twist at multiple times, and it just keeps on twisting, and you think you figured it out, and it's like, nah, no, you don't, loser. And it twists again. I just had a blast. A little bit of ecchi in it, just because that's how Shaft does their stuff sometimes, but Kubikuri Cycle is worth it if you're in for a wild ride, and I enjoyed it. Worst mystery. I don't know why I put this show on. I think I just copied, and I didn't mean it. I have Babylon in there because the mystery part of that show was really bad. Because they're like, oh, let's just peel the paper in half. Oh, F is woman. Like, it was so dumb. The mystery part
F is for female.
so
dumb.
Dab in the chat, gamers, if you get that. No, it was bad. It was bad. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a mistake putting it in here because I wanted to save it for the next one, but then I guess I just messed up and copied it. But I'm not. So spoiler alert. I think the worst psychological one is also Babylon. I liked where they were trying to go with it, but man, was it shallow.
I also put Babylon for psychological because, I mean, I feel like Babylon is just a cop-out for everything in it being bad, but also because I could not really think of anything else specifically psychological that I absolutely hated. There are some that I really did not like that is like a pillar of the psychological genre, and I feel like if I did say that, I would probably be dragged through the mud for it. So I will not.
Are you going to say Eva?
Oh, yeah, I do not like Eva.
God, you're so silly.
You just that's not even the one I was thinking of.
You just don't understand.
That's not even the one I was thinking of.
Good.
And I probably just don't understand. I'm not saying that I don't.
No, it's fine.
I might as well just say it. Might as well just say it. I did not like Serial Experiments Lane. I didn't.
That's fine.
I just didn't.
That's fine. I mean, you're wrong, but you can not enjoy the show. Like, I get why people don't enjoy it.
Yeah. It's hard to differentiate between something being bad and something that you didn't enjoy, especially when we're talking about the worst of a genre. But my best of psychological, also a little bit of a cop-out, it's Death Note. Because it's just, Death Note is over-talked about, maybe, but it is darn good at psychological stuff.
Nice. Well, you know what? How about this? Let me just rub it in since you gave me that little lane shot to the spleen. I'm going to say psychological worst is Babylon. Worst mystery is Erased because it had such a good mystery going, and then they botch it by giving you exactly what you knew it was the whole time, and you're like, wow, that was a show that the first bit of it was so good. The opening got me hyped every single episode, and I'm like, man, this could be something special. Oh, no.
No, yeah, I know. But it is good. It's a good
it's
show.
Still better than a
the
lot
mystery,
of shows here. So
I will say that I was not entirely certain of who the main villain was until it was revealed. I will say that I was very gullible.
I mean, I was still positive on, like, the potential Erased had.
Maybe it was like
nowhere near this.
Yeah.
Train.
I was under the belief it was possibly like a red herring or something like that.
Yeah, I could get that. Best psychological show, obviously Tatami Galaxy. It's greatest of all time, no debate. It's real fast talking, and I'm a fast talking fellow, so good, great, but best show ever. Romance. Any thoughts here?
Okay, I have many. For the best of the romance category, I had to put down Rascal Does Not Dream a Bunny Girl Senpai because, at the very least, that first arc, it's just so cute, and I like it. I also had to put down another one, Love, Chunibyo, and the Other Delusions, because, the main couple is just one of my favorites. Yeah, so of course I had to put that down in there. My least favorite romance. I have three. Oh
boy.
White Album 2 again.
Here. I love it. Let it release.
Okay. White Album 2 once again because the freaking romances in that show are damn annoying and I don't like any of them. Natsuyuki Rendezvous again because as I mentioned before, I also don't like any of the characters in that show and I did not care for either of these two guys being with the main girl character because they all just suck. And finally, Orange. It's been a very long time since I've watched Orange, and it was also towards the beginning of my anime watching. So at first I really liked it, and then I watched more romance anime, and I'm like, wow, this really isn't all that great.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Nice. Platano Senpai says Bunny Girls for the win. And I'm not sure if that's a, vouching of Bunny Girl Senpai the show or just like in general Bunny Girls A+. I mean, either way, you're not wrong, my guy. But also a lot of Fruits Basket love. Kaguya-sama in the chat. So nice. Best romance for me, gotta go with the unbelievably sweet but still adorable My Love Story. It is the show that makes people like most be like, man, I wish I was in a relationship, because it's just so precious. It's so heartwarming. Both characters are so lovable and so pure, and just it's so nice to see them, and it's a good time. Worst romance, just recently, because it's fresh in my head, 1 Week Friends was horrifying. It's essentially 50 First Dates anime edition. I talked about it a little while back, but it was, I guess some people enjoy it, but man, it was unbelievably full of problematic characters and things that were just normalized and treated as okay, and it was just kind of rough to watch. So yeah, 1 Week Friends, it's not the worst I've seen, but it's the worst I've seen recently, so sorry, I guess I don't remember much more than how bad it was. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and I would also be remiss to not add Horimi as also one of my favorite romances. And I'll just leave it at that.
Nice.
Okay,
nice.
sci-fi.
And we're in our final five. And
yeah.
It's okay. I'm gonna skip my movie segment today, so we have time. We can take it easy.
Oh my gosh, you're sacrificing it.
I'm sacrificing it because this is way more interesting than some old movie that no one's ever seen. So we'll save it for next week.
Sci-fi category. One of my favorites is Dr. Stone, because it is the perfect mix of science and a fictional world. And how
literally
it can...
sci-fi. I love it.
Yeah, it's literally sci-fi.
Science plus fiction.
And yeah, and obviously it's not something that's likely to happen in our world, but the way they explain it, it makes it feel somewhat possible. So therefore, it's one of my favorite sci-fis. Least favorite, Godzilla SP.
Interesting.
And
the sci-fi is the best part about that show.
Yes, I know you enjoy it because you have the ability to understand it, because you are far smarter in this part of the show than either Mitsugi or I.
Debatable. I like Kill la Kill, so...
Well, you understand the concepts more of Godzilla SP, and you are able to grasp it a little bit easier. But for mere plebeians like Mitsugi and I, if you listen to our SP, you'll find that we really did not jive with it, because we were spending so much time trying to understand it that it was a big slog to get through.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was my worst in genre for me. But I knew that you would disagree in your personal beliefs on that.
That's fine. It's all good. Favorite sci-fi? I was really mixed here. I really couldn't pick just one. On one hand, Steins Gate, juggernaut of the anime community, uses sci-fi so perfectly to create a loop of drama and suspense and relationships and all this going on, and it is so fantastical. On the other hand, the more subdued but like visually striking Deno Coil uses just like slightly like very possible sci-fi-esque things that could happen in a sense. And it really shows the imagination of children mixed with that technology, what can come of it. So both of them use the concept and groundwork of sci-fi extremely well to build very richly populated worlds. And I love both those series, so check both of them out. Where sci-fi has to be Null and Peta, some like 5-minute show that I did impressions on one time and ended up finishing because it's only a 5-minute show. Boy, was that terrible. It was just like two sisters, and one of the sisters died, so they like took her soul and put it in a robot, and it was like science. Yeah, it wasn't very good. So there you go.
Okay, so slice of lifetime. Again, so many to choose from for this category, but again, I have to go with Sangatsu no Lion. It's just really good. Again, I've already talked about it, but another slice of life in a much different aspect, Skullface bookseller Honda-san, because it really does, it is a slice of life. It's a slice of working life, and it just really captures what it is like to be working at a minimum rate in a retail environment. So that's a really good one. And also, just something that I just remembered, Eurocamp, because it is just such also a different kind of slice of life, but it's a slice of very warm and, calming life, which I feel like we all need. So that also goes in there too. Do you want to give your best slice of life?
I do, but first I want to address Slim Chance and Platano Senpai in the comments saying Ghost in the Shell for best sci-fi. The movie, definitely I'd put that in there. The show's also fantastic, but it just doesn't top Science Gate. So, but yes, Ghost in the Shell is also awesome. Yeah, my slice of life, you knew it was going to be on the list. As Caroline mentioned, March Comes in Like a Lion is fantastic. As much as the sports part of it succeeds, as much as the drama of it succeeds, I really come to that show for those warm, juicy bites of reprieve that Ray has when he comes to visit his found family, and the horrifying, bone-chilling tightness that engulfs him when he finds and interacts with his real family. And just those moments of his life really compel that story so much further, as well as all the slices of life of other characters along the way. It's such a great collage of that genre in one show that it's a masterpiece.
Yeah. So worst
Bad
slice
shows,
of life.
way more fun to talk about.
Yeah. Well, again, with this kind of stuff, it's hard to remember what were really bad in slice of lives that were not very interesting. And one I kind of just fall down to was Adachi Toshimomura, because I really could not remember what the frick happened in that show, other than the fact that I did not enjoy watching it.
I mean, you never had a small lolly astronaut descend on your tea time and then leave?
I honestly forgot that happened. I totally forgot about that. Did they actually address that at the end? Did they explain what this alien was? Because now that you say it, I do remember that happening.
Nobody knows.
Okay. Again, it was so bad that I totally forgot about the one weird thing that happened in that show. So, yeah.
My least favorite slice of life has to be Kumamiko. This show started off as a super pleasant, shrine maiden type thing where she's a little girl and she cares for this shrine, and she has this big bear friend, literally a bear, and they get into all these hijinks, and it's cute and it's fun and it's slice of life and it's a little fantastical, and it's a good time. And all of that is stripped away at the end. Spoilers, where it turns into a mind break where she's brainwashed into sacrificing everything for this shrine, and all the progress she's made of casual growth becomes immediately stunted and beaten back down, and it's horrifying what ends up happening to it. And it's such a betrayal on everything slice of life has to offer, and it was just a nightmare. Don't watch Kumamiko. It was a disaster.
But was it an experience?
No, you didn't feel good watch. It felt fine leading up to it. If you just stopped halfway through, you're oh, that was just a kind of nice looking run-of-the-mill show lost to the sands of time. But then its ending was unsettling in a horror kind of way. It was bad.
It was bad. So let's see here. Sports. This is one genre I have seen less than mecha, and not because I don't like sports, it's just somehow I have avoided it. I do want to watch Haiku. I just never got to it, so...
Oh my goodness, that's the worst excuse I've ever heard in my life.
I know.
That's fine.
We just need to put it up for Anime Club, and then I'll watch it. So, yeah, that's the best I got.
Oh yeah, Arya is being mentioned in the chat. That's another great slice of life. Okay, let me answer for Caroline. Best sports show is Keijo, worst is GB8. Good, perfect. Best sports show for me, gotta be Hajime no Ippo, the boxing show. It's unbelievably hype. It's very much about boxing. Great cast of characters, but it's always never a stone's throw away from throwing a punch. So, fantastic show. We've shilled it enough. Worst sports show, also recently, Farewell My Dear Kramer. Man, talk about a show with some potential, about a girls soccer team, and it just did everything poorly, from the visuals to the writing to the characters. They were all just so bland, and I wanted the show to be good, and I watched it all, and it was never good at any moment.
Notice how you did not put Chihayafuru for best sports.
Because Chihayafuru is very good. It's like one of the best, but it is not like solely dependent
A
on the sport.
representative of the sports genre?
It's not the best representation of like pure sports. It is
that is the closest we are going to get for you to say that Chihayafuru is not a sport anime.
But like there's so much more to it than just sports. It's
yeah.
I'm trying to think.
I mean, I don't have a stake in this argument one way or the other. I just think it's funny.
I mean, I look at my list. I gave Hajime no Ippo a 10. I gave Chihayafuru season 3 a 9. Like, I'm saying one's a little bit better than the other because it is just all sports all the time, and Chihayafuru is just mostly sports all the time. But like, I don't know.
Chat is bringing up ping pong.
I mean, ping pong is a 10 out of 10. It's probably tied for my favorite show of all time, if not my second favorite show of all time. But it is not a sports show. It is a drama show where the characters grow and learn and develop and do everything through the sport of ping pong. And it's used to tell like the most beautiful story of all time. And it sends chills down my spine to this day. But it's not I wouldn't be like, oh, you like sports, watch ping pong kind of thing. But watch ping pong. I'm commanding you, watch ping pong. It's so good. I love it. Oh, it's so good. Supernatural. Let's move on before I just go on a ping pong tirade.
And there are a lot of fun Supernatural shows. There are just so many to choose from. But I had to put Erased somewhere on this list, and I do love Erased because even though they don't really explain why he goes back in time, it's just really good. So I had to put that in there. And Mob Psycho 100, because the whole, Esper powers thing, it's just so fun and interesting, and I love it. So there you go.
That's fine. That's Supernatural for me. Gotta go with Mushishi. This could have been in Slice of Life. This could have been in Adventure. This could have been in Drama. This could have been in so much. But Mushishi just takes the weird little creatures that exist on the fringes of reality and bring them into the world and cozy them up next to you and make you think about your life. And it just brings a certain fantasy to the real world that is just delightful, and it's a masterclass. It is so calming and soothing and the perfect show to watch before bed, and it is worth watching. As is Natsume's Book of Friends. I'll just throw that in there as well. Worst, what do you have?
Well, all things come in threes. Natsuyuki Rendezvous! And I don't need to explain anymore. Go ahead.
So what show do you have on your... Actually, I'll wait till we get to the end of this list. My least favorite Supernatural show is The God of High School. Kind of similar to your Romeo x Juliet for the fantasy thing. Like, The God of High School could have been interesting if it was just a martial arts tournament of these high school kids. But then they wanted to get way too ambitious with these supernatural powers, and it absolutely, like, took the knees out of anything the show was going for and made it way less interesting. So, it had potential, but from this one element, incorporation kind of ruined the show for me, which makes it not the worst Supernatural show, but a show that failed because of that component. So that's how I'm justifying it. And finally, Thriller.
So for Thriller, I have both Attack on Titan for the obvious reasons. It's a really suspenseful kind of show. Their action scenes, especially in the first season, you're thinking like, holy crap, at any moment they are going to be eaten. They're going to be, no longer in the show, because especially by, I think it was like episode 5 or something, Eren is eaten. Spoilers, it's first season of Attack on Titan if you really care. And then you're thinking to yourself, holy crap, like there is no plot armor because he is the main character and there he is eaten. And you, of course, in the back of your mind thinking, like, he can't be gone, right? And, our theory is proven correct. But in that moment, you are thinking to yourself, yeah, there is no hope for any of these characters. So yeah, it's a great thriller. And Kaiji, it's a gambling show where at any moment you or the kids these days would, fall back on Squid Game or something like that, I suppose. And in this instance, awful things can happen to you if you are not good at games of luck. So yeah, it's a great thriller.
Seeing vote from Zero Ryokyo for Hellsing Ultimate for Best Thriller. I know we just did Anime Club on regular Hellsing, but yeah, Hellsing Ultimate it's a fun ride. I don't know if it's I guess some of the episodes I would say are thrillers. It's been a hot minute since I've watched that show. That was a good one. Best thriller, I'm going with Lupin the Third, The Woman Called Fujiko Mine. An absolute departure of the Lupin series. It's so intense and gritty and just has a lot to say about women in society, about, thievery, and just the dark underbelly of the crime community, as well as just a great look at a otherwise goofy show and a kind of silly throwaway character within it. Not to say that Fujiko is some, I don't know, nothing character, but she really gets put under the microscope in this series, and it really is a phenomenal piece of art. So yeah, gonna go with that installment. So watch it. And I wonder what show besides Jibby 8 does Caroline really have a bone to pick today? Is it going to be Natsuyuki Rendezvous again? Is it going to be Babylon? Is it going to be White Album 2? What could it possibly be?
I know. I got lazy with this topic, but really it took me such a long time to think of these things. And once again, bad things come in 3. It's drumroll Babylon. And as we've joked before, it just tries so hard to be a thriller when really it's just not good at a lot of things. So there you go.
Nice. Ooh,
I got 3
Paranoia
for
Agent.
Babylon and 3 for Natsuki Rendezvous, and I think 2 for White Album.
I was going to ask what's the worst.
As far Babylon and Natsuki Rendezvous are tied. I think I was more offended by Natsuki Rendezvous though.
Gotcha. Yeah, Slim Chance has a great list here. Psychopath, Monster, Higurashi, and Paranoia Agent. All those are fantastic thrillers. So good list. Worst thriller for me? I was lazy. I just put Vivi, Fluorite Eye Song. Not a terrible show, but man, could I not care about any of their little things. Like, we need to do this to save the world. And everything you just did doesn't matter. Over and over and over. So as a thriller, it kind of failed to make me feel any sort of suspense for anything. So, hopefully, you got some good recommendations out of this. Hopefully you learned about some new shows. And hopefully you learned which shows to come in with a little more suspicion to. And if you have any favorites, send them my way, because I need more shows to watch. I'm starting to run low. So I would love your suggestions. And with that, do you have any comments before we get into our weekly trivia question?
No, not really.
Lay it on us then.
All right. Well, actually, I do have a question about our weekly trivia question here because, well, first let's give the question here. How often does the famous Takarazuka Revue theater troupe hold their sports festival known as Dai Undokai? So here's the thing, but the show Kageki Shoujo, it's not the Takarazuka Revue troupe.
But if you watch the show, you know it's the same answer.
Oh, okay. So I guess that's basically it. I'll repeat the question then, now that we are ready to get into our news break. How often does the famous Takarazuka Revue theater troupe hold their sports festival known as Dai Undokai? And we will give you the answer right after the news break.
Hey, there we go. See you guys in just a bit. Have a good one. Hey everyone, Mason here, and welcome to the news break for episode 602. We've got 2 quick stories for you, so let's knock these out so we can return to the podcast. First up, we have 2 sequels that quite frankly I did not see coming. We have a season 2 announcement for Peter Grill and the Philosopher's Time. This was an ecchi comedy that we covered a little bit on the main show, and then a little bit more on the hentai episode, so if you were a fan of this, you got more coming your way, with dates and details to be revealed at a later time. The next sequel is maybe not even a sequel, maybe more of a re-adaptation, but the infamous Therma Rome, a 3-episode OVA that I watched a while back, a very goofy comedy-based tale about this Roman bath designer who gets sucked up through a drain pipe to go to modern-day Japan to learn about bath culture and society. Netflix announced a adaptation coming worldwide next year in 2022, and it should be a very silly ride with the perhaps overly used but nonetheless memorable Kenjiro Suda as the main character. And finally, for all my JoJo fans out there, we've received some clarity on the airing of Part 6 Stone Ocean, coming to Netflix on December 1st. Episodes 1 through 12 of the new season will be dropping on that date. Reported initially as a quote-unquote monthly streaming plan, I definitely much prefer this massive drop of an entire season, especially with the arc-based format of the JoJo universe. So far, only information pertaining to these 12 episodes have been released, but I'm expecting at least 3 quarters worth as we head to Florida for the next installment. All I know is I'm excited.
Anime Addicts, the AAA podcast, is always trying to bring you new and exciting ways to enjoy our content, and now we have an exclusive member-only RSS feed on the site that is going to let you access our hentai episodes, our Hobby Addicts, and our After Parties episodes, all from your favorite mobile apps. That's an additional 8 episodes of content per month just for you, and you can listen to it through Apple Podcasts app, you can listen to it through Podcast Addicts, Pocket Cast, Overcast FM, Downcast FM, etc., onward and onward. So many mobile apps for you to choose from. If you were holding back on supporting the podcast because you didn't like listening to our extra content through our website, now you can get it and listen to it the same way you enjoy all your other podcasts. So pitch in, help out the podcast, do a good thing, and enjoy all the extra content we have for you. Just go to aapodcast.com/join and you will get all this extra content and an exclusive member RSS feed for you to enjoy. That's aapodcast.com/join and support the podcast.
この番組は JList.com の提供でお送りします。
Hey. And we are back.
How was the break for you?
I don't know. Fine.
You had a good break?
Did I mess anything up?
No. I'm just asking if you had a good break. Like, what did you do with your time? Like, did you go on an adventure or something?
I refilled my water.
That's an adventure.
Boy, I was losing my voice in that last bit, and I'm still losing it now. It's like a little scratchy. I talked way too much. I'm sick.
You mean to tell me we had too many genres to talk about?
No. Music.
Stop
the music.
Okay.
We're good. We're back, baby. We last left you I mean, we couldn't ignore any genre. They're all important. We left you with the trivia question. How often does the famous Takarazuka Review Theater troupe hold their sports festival known as Dai Undokai, which is on the decennial anniversaries, so every 10 years. So for the 80th, 90th, and 100th, whatever class is when they do it. So every 10 years is the answer, if that made any sense. We are going to skip unexplored pictures this week. If I was Mitz, I would play the cheering kid drop because no one cares about that segment, and we'll move to mailbags. So playing that right
It's time
now.
for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime. Anime.
Mailbag.
Nice. So, if you want to send in a mailbag,
Nice.
you can
not
go
nice.
go to AAApodcasts.com and click on our mailbag button. Ask us anything, really. Or tell us how much you love us. I mean, we love that. Although we got one from Henjax who asks, have you guys tried solo leveling? And if so, what are your thoughts? I have not. I don't even know what solo leveling
I
is.
have not either. Sorry.
Sorry.
I don't think Mitz has either. So I've heard a bunch of hype for it. I know it's a big popular thing that people love. I just have not seen it. Read it. Sorry. I have not read it. So
Yeah. And that's all we got. Let's see here. And the next one that we actually have an answer to is from who else other than Yutaru Vegeta. Let's crunch the numbers, AAA, he says. What is your longest binge? Number of hours, length of the day, number of episodes, however you'd like to measure it. And big surprise to anyone who hasn't been paying attention.
I want to go first. 'Cause
What?
You're going to blow me out of the
Okay.
water. And I don't want to.
Okay, you go. You go.
Sorry, yours is so impressive that it's nothing related to it.
Well, I've already talked a
Sure.
whole lot about it, so.
But your flex is so strong that my measly response would be annoying. I watched a lot of Legend of the Galactic Heroes in a very short amount of time. I don't know how long. It's 110 episodes, and it took me I just went through it really quickly. So, boring answer. Okay, now Caroline, flex those big, believe it biceps upon us.
Again, let's talk about the fact that I watched Naruto, all of Naruto,
Ugh.
exclusively watched Naruto and nothing else for the most part. That's roughly 650 episodes until I caught up with the, at the time, episode releases. So I caught up with the anime as it was, happening. And this over the course happened over the course of less than a year. So that is roughly 650 episodes within 1 year of only watching Naruto.
I'm flipping through the transcript, Your Honor. Yes. In episode 602, at time marker here, Caroline stated, "I haven't got around to watching Haikyuu."
Listen. This was like my first year of watching anime. I didn't know what Haikyuu was. Yeah, I know. If I had not watched all of the filler episodes because I didn't know what filler was, maybe I would have gone to Haikyuu. But I did not go to anime school for dummies, okay?
I'm impressed.
So yes.
I mean, did you enjoy your time watching it?
I did like watching Naruto,
Well,
but
then
not
there's a
the
good-
endless filler arcs that I could have skipped when I didn't know about it.
That's an impressive binge, and you will. That's something I just can't compete with.
As I have put it before, it is my greatest achievement and also my most shameful.
I mean, there's only one way to top it, is with the either a One Piece binge, or B, you'd have to watch like all of, what is it, Sazai-san? Like that's like the longest running series ever. That's like 4,000 something episodes. So
Yeah.
yeah, you really went all in at the beginning, and you're never gonna top it. So
Actually, before we
yeah.
continue, I totally forgot about that whole favorite genre thing that you told me to do. Well, it's finished queuing me. I got my results. So here is my top 5 of the genre.
Okay.
It is adventure. Adventure is number 5.
Are you
then
sorting
it's
it
school.
by mean score or number of titles watched?
I'm sorting it by hours watched.
Oh, no, I want to do it by your
Um,
score.
By my score.
Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
that'll show us
let's
like
see.
which ones are your favorites.
I see. Oh yes, you are correct, because at the top is shonen and action, and that's probably because of darn Naruto.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So a mean score of given genre, I suppose,
Yeah.
is what I'm doing here.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Let me see here. Okay, I'm not entirely sure what this means for me, because I'm not sure if I did this correctly or not,
Okay.
because I have
Number 1 is
psychological.
etchy. Oh, there must be a mistake.
No, Oh no, because because here's the first thing. Number 1 is gourmet, and the mean score is 10. But here's I'm guessing this is just because I have not listened or watched a lot of gourmet
Well,
anime,
if you
and they're
click on
probably
it,
looking
it
at
will
my score
show
for
you all the
Shokugeki no Choma.
scores you've posted for it. So there should be
I
like a
know,
mean weighted
yeah, I'm not
score.
entirely sure how this works.
Mean weighted score is what you want then.
Okay. I don't know if it's still gourmet at the top, which doesn't make sense to me. What is
Well, click
the
on
only
it.
gourmet anime I've watched?
It'll tell you
don't.
it'll tell
Okay,
you
fine,
what
fine.
shows you've watched there.
It's just Shokugeki no Soma, and oh wait a minute, is this manga?
Are you on the manga? Or
Yes, this is
anime?
manga. Okay, this is my manga list, so that makes sense because I don't really read a lot of
Gotcha.
manga.
You gotta go into the anime tab. No one cares about
Okay, one more-
manga. This isn't a manga podcast.
Yeah, this thing confuses me. We really should have just done this for after party,
Nah,
but
this
whatever.
is fine. We can do
We're
it in after
already
party.
here.
We'll do it in after party because then we can talk about your favorite what is it called? Studios.
Oh, I suppose. I mean, and I also need your help with this because by hitting the anime list, it looks different from before. So I need to figure this out. But we will get to this in the after party.
After party spoilers. We'll see you guys there. Okay, now we can move on to our review of Kageki
Yay.
Shoujo. As I cannot find my mouse on my screens because my battery in my mouse is dying. Everything is dying. Life is pain. Kageki Shoujo was a show that I passed on episode 585. It's a summer 2021 show. You can watch it on Crunchyroll. And it is the story of Sarasa Watanabe, a starry-eyed student who dreams of performing as Oscar in the all-female acting troupe. And she gets in to the esteemed school and forms an unlikely friendship with a former idol, her new roommate, and they join the Koka Theater, which is the name of the essentially stand-in world for the Takarazuka troupe that we mentioned earlier, which is a real-world all-female cast theater production. This is done by Studio Tezuka Productions, who did Adachi Toshimamura, which Caroline railed against earlier, as well as
this makes sense.
Quintessential Quintuplets, both of which were directed by the same director, Satoshi Kurabara, who's directed this as well. So we're getting a theme. It's based on a manga, and if you had known that, what would have been your initial expectations going into Kageki Shoujo, aka Opera Girl?
I mean, I suppose it does feel a little bit more like a Adachi Shimamura in some ways, and not necessarily in the ways I did not like the show, because, but we'll get to that in a little bit, I suppose. I had no expectations going into Kageki Shoujo, other than the fact I had no idea what it was about, and I've not really heard a lot of people talking about it. So that just gives me the belief that it probably wasn't going to be anything to write home about. And that was my general expectations going in, was that I had nothing to go off of.
Gotcha. Yeah, my initial expectations, Review Starlight is a fantastic show, and it represents the more metaphorical side of the Takarazuka Review with visual splendor and just phenomenal animation. So I knew about that show. Kageki Shoujo is a bit more grounded, albeit anime AF, and does not have the same stunning production values. But I had no idea what show Kageki Shoujo was going to be. If you remember, when I was doing my impressions, it actually took me like 5 or 6 episodes before I finally passed it, because I had no idea what I was going to get. Am I going to get this, like, realistic story about like training and the competition and like what it takes to succeed in theater? Was I going to get a story about like emotional salvation and steps towards recovery of like fragile characters? Am I going to get a story that's just like this giraffe girl making funny noises? Like, I had no idea. Like, each episode was bringing something new to the table, and it was so like inconsistent with where it was going. But eventually I was like, this show might have potential, especially in the summer season that was very lacking, and I decided to pass it. Was that the correct answer? Spoiler-free recommendations. Caroline, what do we think?
Okay, so this show, it's really hard for me to pinpoint what I think about this show because it has some pretty decent stuff. I thought the theatrical stuff was fun and interesting. Some of the side characters I really liked. But the main characters for me were not exactly my favorites. And when you have some side characters that for me were more interesting than your main, that is automatically an eh. And then we get some really weird plot points, which I will go into depth with in our spoiler territory part of the show. So it's hard for me to say whether or not to recommend it because I did enjoy portions of the show. It wasn't like a chore to watch for me, which is also good. And it has some just interesting parts to it. So it's hard to say. I would overall maybe not recommend. There are better things to watch overall than this show, but I don't blame anybody who really likes the show.
1 second. There are better things to watch. Let me check the transcript again.
Oh
yep.
God.
650 episodes. I'm kidding.
Shut up.
I'm with you, Caroline. I enjoyed the show more than I thought I would. It matured and lived up to the potential I saw, even if that potential wasn't where I thought it was going. The side characters were the highlights of the show, and while I did enjoy it mostly, I'm more positive than negative. I wouldn't recommend it. It was not a diamond in the rough, but just a stone that wasn't covered in poop like the rest of the season. It just wasn't the worst option if you wanted to watch seasonal stuff, but watch Review Starlight over this. Watch a plethora of other shows. It's fine. I will definitely watch season 2 if it comes out, and hopefully that will really complete the arc that a lot of these characters are on because their stories just are not finalized. So at this stage, I would say it's probably worth skipping, but if you're really into theater and that kind of thing, there might be a shred of something for you to grasp onto. So with that said, spoilers are coming.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god!
And we can get into it. So, where do you want to start, Caroline, with Kageki Shoujo? The plot or the characters?
Hard to say. Well, it's really hard to say. I suppose we could start with the characters. Since, there are 2 main characters to this show. There's Sarasa and there's Ai, both of which I was not a huge fan of. I'd say I liked Sarasa a little bit better than Ai because she had a little bit more, I don't know, personality.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's one kind of character I really dislike, it's is it like Kyudere or like the cool kind of personality with
the distant, keeps emotions under laps and just like is the robotic one.
Yeah, because that's just darn boring. And I realized there was more to Ai's character with her backstory, which is like probably the most interesting about her is her backstory. And really, there's nothing else to her because she doesn't do anything. I get she does do something, but she doesn't do anything interesting to me. And that really frustrated me when that's our second most important character to the show. And then you have Sarasa, and if Mitsugi was here, on a tirade about her two-toned hair, which honestly I thought was a little strange.
I liked
like
her
the green
hair. It
tip,
was so poofy.
Really?
When it was in poofy, like Pokemon mode, she looked straight like a Whimsicott. I liked her hair. I like Sarasa.
I just like the very minute green tips were just strange in what was otherwise a very, generically character designed show, which is just weird. And then you got the star eyes. Oh God,
Oh
those
my
two
goodness.
things together.
Like they did, like she was already tall. Like we already knew which one she was. They didn't need to give her so much extra flamboyance, like to differentiate her. But I get what you're
here's the
saying.
thing, like that was her character. That was her main thing about her character is that she was tall and she was Genki.
But she
That's
had
it.
that hidden it factor, that potential that just made people be like,
It's
"Why the
just-
heck
she's
is your
just
hair different
Genki.
colors?"
Yeah, I know. It's like, and that's the entire thing about her in this show is like she has the it factor, but it's not really coming across to me. It's more like she has that it factor because she is the main character and not the other way around.
So all the characters in this show are things you've seen 1,000 times, and while like
Yeah.
individually none of them were bad, like as a collective the chemistry was really what was lacking in this show. Like you can have a bland character and a normal character and an average character and you know do nothing with them and it's boring, but you can have them bounce off one another, respond in different ways, and like play off one another to make a scene work well. And the scenes of these characters weren't that great. Like the characterization was fine. Like when we got backstories on each of these characters and they were allowed to exist within their own bubbles was when the show was at its strongest. But when they
I agree.
expected this character and this character and this character to interact in a compelling way is where they dropped the ball. Especially because they interacted with very overly dramatic drama. And so many like serious moments were just undercut by tropes. So I didn't mind the characters individually, but as a group, they kind of didn't jive with me.
Yeah. And you kind of hit on the head because their backstories are probably the most interesting thing about this show. I'm trying to think of what that one character's name was because she was probably my favorite. It's the more like the serious girl with the famous
Kuda?
actress mom and grandmother. What was that?
I'm gonna look it up. For some reason, my brain says Kuda, something.
It's Hoshino. Hoshino?
I'm looking it
Hoshino,
up.
I think.
I didn't
Something
prepare
like that.
at all
Something
for
with-
this.
With Hoshi. I thought she was most interesting because I took one look
Yeah,
at her at the beginning of
Kaoru
the series,
Hoshino.
and I'm like, yes, I got it. Yeah.
Kaoru.
And I'm thinking to myself, man, this girl's gonna be a bitch, and I'm gonna hate her. But she ends up being a little bit bitchy, but she's still kind of enjoyable. Like, even when she's interacting with the other characters, she's not overly the top a bad character. Like that's just her attitude with people, and she does have moments of being a good person in this show. And then her backstory is very sweet, and I really enjoyed that little glimpse into her romantic life and the issues that she deals with as being the product of very famous people.
Yeah, that was great. Why do you think I made the cover of this episode her
Oh yeah.
thing? Yeah,
Her-
it was a great episode.
Yeah. And she's not even the main character, and her episode was probably the best.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I would say the second half of the show was stronger overall, in part due to the fact that that's where most of the background episodes of all the supporting cast came into play.
Yeah. Although I will say that the worst part of the show was the sports festival, because here I was thinking to myself, what is the point in all this? It's just to make Sarasa like more appealing to the masses and to drive home that like, oh yeah, she's going to be one of the top stars one of these days. But yeah, I just thought this whole sports festival thing to just be a not very interesting arc.
Interesting. I guess I didn't mind it, but I don't know. It seemed like business as usual. I guess what I really enjoyed the most about the show was the moments of insight and teaching into the performances of all different types, from kabuki to idol to theater. Like,
Yeah.
they would do a just regular performance of a scene from Shakespeare, and they'd be like, oh, she's facing the audience like an idol would, and that makes her face this way and have this posture and relate and speak and dictate in this kind of way, and she is imagining this from this background, and it completely changes how they even approach the character, let alone the personality behind the actor and what they bring to it, or actress, I should say. Like, those moments were splendid.
And the fact that Sarasa is more used to the kabuki world, where you are supposed to, in general, take a performance and stick to that performance, no matter who's acting in it. And that makes her very good at doing impressions, but she's kind of hit with the reality that she can't just impress upon the great performances of actors before her. She has to become a good actor herself.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting, thought on that. But yeah, and those were very good parts of the show, and that's probably the one thing that kept me interested in it. But there are a lot of problematic parts of the show. Let's just start off with the whole stalking thing. That is the main part of it's what you think from the first couple episodes is what you think is going to be the plot of the entire series.
I don't know about the entire series, but it was making up a major part of it.
Of the season, I meant. And it kind of wraps up very quickly in the first few episodes. Is it just me, or is Sarasa's quote-unquote father more creepier than the actual stalker character? Because, my god, was this guy creep. The way that he, he takes the Twitter login of, Sarasa's boyfriend, so he can pretend to be him, send flowers pretty much, alluding to the fact, not in his name, but, pretending to be him, basically. It's just freaking creepy.
Yeah.
And then they eventually explain that, oh yeah, she's his illegitimate daughter. I'm like, okay, but why does he look like he's preying on her?
Yeah, I don't think it was completely confirmed it was him or not him, but yes, he was probably, beyond the stalker guy, beyond the sexual harassment military conduct person in episode 1 that was played for comedy.
Yeah.
Tastelessly.
Yeah.
He was by far the shadow, creepiest character in the show. In the show, they had a lot of weird male characters, which I think is important between we have this isolated sect of female students and the creepy men in their life that prey and approach them with malicious intent. There's definitely that dichotomy going on, which is, I guess, very honest, especially with, the idols that these girls are supposed to become in some sense of the world, not as in literal idols, but, images and beacons and icons for fans of the review. Yeah, his stuff was highly concerning, and I hope we address that in a season 2, because it went very much unreported and unpunished.
Yeah, I mean, and here he is doing actual stalker things. And then you have the character they literally call Stalker several times. And yeah, he does stalker things too. And I understand the Stalker character better, because it's not, what he's doing is not meant to come from a bad place. He's literally stalking her to apologize to her. But that does not mean you can stalk somebody to their school and wait for them to approach. And it's and I kind of liked him by the end. But the things he does not defend him. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's not justified what he did, but you understand where he's coming from, and they confront it to a degree that says, okay, I've accepted where that character arc took us, where we grew from it, how our characters responded, and we can move on. And it doesn't nag at you like this guy who's just been a thorn in the side, and you're like, that's just gonna continue. And that's not a great look. But that's, we'll see where the story goes.
Where it goes is to another problematic plot point. And honestly, I am surprised that they went with this plot point, and not negatively surprised. I was actually very interested to see what they'll do with the fact that they added, a character who does have a eating disorder. I don't think I've seen really that in anime before. It doesn't mean it hasn't happened in anime, but I have not seen it.
A fair bit here and there.
Yeah. I was wondering, and at first I'm like, okay, are they going to do justice for this plot point? And at first I thought they were, but they did not conclude it well. So we have one teacher that encourages the girl with the eating disorder to just not give up, and she's magically healed. She has been cured of her eating disorder. It does not come up again. She's okay now, which is great for her, but it doesn't happen that way. This is a girl that needs therapy. She needs medical help to keep herself safe in this environment that is not forgiving for people who, who are not formidably strong-headed, you know? And then there's the other teacher who caused the problem in the first place by calling her fat. Like, she does not see the issue that she has caused. She literally said, like, oh, I don't think, like, I'm not, sorry I said it. This is a harsh environment. She needs to get over it kind of situation. We just need, and then she literally says, we just need her to stop throwing up. What?
I mean, yeah, like, I get
so
where she's
bad.
coming from, and it's supposed to be problematic. Like, I guess, like, you understand why she said what she said. Like, it makes sense. It's not great, but, like, yeah, that's what she's defending. A whole reputation and image and culture of the thing, which is problematic, sure, mind you, but what they are looking for. And I guess I didn't mind that character because it is how, like, careless and unreasonable a lot of people are. But to then have it solved, like you said, with some teachers just like, no, you can sing, I believe in you. And that's it, and then she gets over it. It felt like they took the realistic problem and solved it in a, I'll just get over it kind of way. And it cheapened where that could have gone.
In this situation, what they should have done, in my opinion, they can have this plot point. They can even have the teacher calling her fat, but they need to address the fact that this, while it is a part of the industry today, it is a bad part of the industry today. They need to address that and fix this plot point in a way that is ethical, which is to confront the teacher that said this to her, say, like, you can't say that to students. You should probably say, like, oh, let's take you to, like, the school, like, medical a doctor, and, like, we'll get you a very safe diet and exercise regime for you so you can, stay here, be healthy, whatever. You can't just call a student fat and have her have an eating disorder and just say, we just need to get her to stop throwing up, and not return to that and have this teacher face repercussions. It's just, it really angered me how they did this. And it was all resolved in like one or two episodes.
That was the bigger problem for me, but I guess I can't speak to it. I'm outside of the scope, but I very much imagine that is how it is. Like, that's, especially in Japan, where it's a different, I don't know. I can't defend the culture. That's just, I don't know how it is. I don't disagree. It would be really nice if that was the case, though. So, yeah, if they did that, I would be much more enthralled with how they tackled everything.
Yeah. Well, let's move on then. I thought it was strange for, like, an all-female acting troupe. There were not a lot of female teachers.
That's kind of how it is in the real world, too. Like, the Takarazuka is very much led by a lot of male, and it's very much still a dominated industry of power and influence and control.
I also thought it was interesting how so we got Ai's uncle, and I literally thought for the longest time that this was like her boyfriend or something by how young he looks. How, like, I think they held hands in the first episode, which you can do with your uncle, but in an anime, that certainly makes it seem they are romantically involved with how, close she is with him. And that's fine, but I thought it was strange how casually he dressed to be a teacher. Like, we've never even seen him teach in this show.
Was he a teacher?
He just seemed like he is a teacher. I don't even know what he taught, but he is a teacher, and that's why he pops up every now and then. Yeah, so I was thinking to myself, why is he here?
Oh yeah, he's a ballet
I'm supposed
instructor.
to be like I support. I guess just to be I support, but it doesn't really. He's not there enough, and he doesn't do enough to make him a teacher at the school because he doesn't teach anything. We don't
Well,
see him teach
'cause
anything.
they're not in ballet yet. They're just not
I
taking
guess
his
not.
class. It's just an excuse for her male support line to be nearby. But I guess that didn't bother me because it's not like he was taking up scenes or anything. He was just kind of around for a couple episodes in the beginning and kind of just drifted away.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. It was just strange,
Okay,
to me anyway.
That's fair. What'd you think about the art and the animation of this show?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, especially when they're going into theatrical scenes, they do an interesting job with, imagery and bringing you into that scene and all that, which, I mean, it was good. It wasn't amazing, but it was good.
Yeah, I thought it kind of just worked. Like, your mileage may vary based on, like, how well you can digest all the pastel colors. And, like, yeah, it looks stiff and bland, like, some of the time. But when, like, they needed the comedy or intensity to hit, like, it hit the mark really well. And, like, remember how in Vivy, like, when the fight scenes would happen, they would, like, turn the dial all the way up to 11, and it looked so good, but it didn't seem, like, cohesive with the show that came before and after it. Like, Kageki was able to, like, make those moments look really sharp and intense, but it was all felt, like, natural and, like, part of the same universe. So, I actually liked the way it looked. I thought the voice acting was quite splendid, and I thought the OP and EDs were kind of great. Like, they were visually interesting. I like the way that the endings changed depending on who the focus of the episode was. Like, for all the backstories, we got a like spin-off where they were the focus. Yeah, they were cool. They were bops. So
yeah, I mean, I listened to them, but I didn't really watch it very intently.
no worries. But yeah, I think there was, production-wise, it's not going to wow anyone, but Studio Pine Jam just has a nice little thing, and I think I messed up the name of who did the stuff earlier, but it is Pine Jam because I am bad at doing my research and updating my stuff. So it was actually Pine Jam, done by a different director. They did like Leipner and Just Because and stuff like that. So cool look to them.
Also thought it was funny how I like mentioning things that made me wonder what, and that would be the fact that they eat lunch in the locker room. They just sit on the ground, and that's where they eat lunch.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I guess that's just where they ended up.
And also another thing, I thought it was surprising for a 2-year school, they typically don't let the first years act. When you are only at the school for 2 years and you are going for an acting troupe, you're going to spend an entire year just on theory. And yeah, theory is important, but shouldn't you be trying out the theories so you understand them better?
I don't know.
Maybe if it was like a 4-year school, maybe, then you have 3 years to actually hone your skills, but you're only there for 2 years.
Here's the question, though. If this is how it is in the real world, does it make the show, is that like a fault of the show?
No, but I don't really know much about acting troupes, I guess.
Well, yeah, so I guess it's one of those things where if you're watching a sports show and a rule happens, you're like, well, that was a dumb rule, but that's how it is in real life. Is that something you can blame the sport for? Or blame the show for?
No, but it's not really something I considered when watching the shows. Like, is this how it is in real life? Because, we don't really, the United States doesn't really have a lot of focus on acting troupes. I mean, yeah, we do have them.
I mean, we
but
have colleges where people go specifically for acting.
Well, yeah, but I know at least in colleges they act in the first few classes. They don't act for the first couple of years.
I don't know.
And that's what I base it on.
Just pushing our
It's
Western beliefs on this. I don't know. I'm just joking. It's an interesting point. I didn't consider that, which is kind of funny. Anything else? Or do we want to give our closing thoughts and get out of here?
That's probably about it. I mean, I feel like there are actual plots that I could be talking about. But yeah, I very much focus on little things that annoy me.
No worries.
But we've pretty much talked about everything important.
We did. I think we highlighted like the big issues and positives we had with the show, and there's just a lot of time in the middle of them just doing their thing. And very much that will depend on your thoughts on the show as a whole. For me personally, I'll just come right. I'm going to give it 3 whimsicots out of 5. I was generally more positive on the show than negative. I enjoyed my time with it. I like what I learned about acting from it. I like how they, displayed the active theater when they did get to it. And most of the characters, while simple and plain and didn't work well together, when they did hit their emotions and turmoils and struggles, I think succeeded. So it did more good than bad. I'll watch season 2 if it comes out. And yeah, 3 out of 5 is a good, fine show for a good, fine experience.
So I was going back and forth between giving the show a 2 and a 2.5. It was a decent show. I wouldn't say it was like the best show that I've seen in a while. It was just okay for me. I'll just say another thing. I totally thought that Sarasa was dating her cousin for a couple episodes because they made it sound okay. So like she's the illegitimate daughter of this one guy, and this other guy calls him brother, and so I was thinking to myself, is she unknowingly dating her cousin? I don't know. So I thought that was another interesting anecdote to throw in there. And yeah, it had some really great points. It had some kind of meh points. It had some kind of points, whatever you would interpret that as. So I don't know. I was kind of basing it on how you would rank it, and since you've ranked it higher than I thought you were going to, I will give this show 2.5 poofy green-tipped hair wigs out of 5. It kind of looks like a wig to me.
It's kind of goofy, yeah. We'll go for that. No, it's not a strong recommendation, but it was, I don't know, it surprised me at the end. And I think because it started off so inconsistent that by the time it got going, I was like, oh, this is better than I thought, and pulled me in. But I think if it was that way all the way through, it might be like a 2.5. So yeah, this score could waffle on any given day. But right now, I guess I'm riding the high part of the sine wave. So I'm sticking to my guns. We're going to average out to a 3 out of 5, I think. I don't know how it works. I don't know math.
Like 2.75, I think.
Yeah, I think, which makes it a 3.
We have 2.5 and a 3.
So we'll give it that score and give you, the audience, a score of 5 out of 5 because you made it to the end. Yay, you did it, everybody.
Yeah, this is a long episode for just 2 of us.
Yeah, we are quite emotionally just destroyed after all of this talking. So to hear us talk more, stay tuned for an after party and subscribe for all that bonus content that lets you listen to it. Follow Caroline on Twitter at AAA Podcast. And don't forget the TikTok, Anime Addicts Anonymous Pod. Show the love there. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I don't recommend it, but you can at Macy Pacey. Mitch should be back next week, but the Facebook, the Discord, they're popping 24/7. So join there, and it's a good time. iTunes, aapodcast.com. You know all the links. You know where everything's going on. And I don't know. Next week we'll talk about Remain and have some spicy game shows for you and all sorts of just shenanigans we're going to get up to in these 600 episodes to come. So anything else before we take a quick break?
Nope.
Well, then with that, we will leave you guys. Have a great week.
See you later.